Hey guys, it's Dana, and it's time to talk about money, and time to talk about how my power was shut off for 4 days and how we survived it. So let's talk about that. Okay, so a major storm blew through our neighborhood. It was like a thunderstorm, 20 minutes. It's actually called a Derecho storm. It's hurricane force winds, and just within 20 minutes knocked down all these trees, and our power went out, and it just didn't come back on. It was out for days and days and really was a nightmare. We have 4 young kids, and it was not easy. This is not the first time this has happened to us. At least this time it was during warm weather. We had it happen to us in winter before, an ice storm, and our power was out for days, and it was cold, and that was scarier. But this time it was hot. It was 90-degree days, and it was out. So if you lose power, or if your power is shut off because you haven't paid your electric bill and you're trying to get money together to pay the bills, you can get your electric turned back on, or if you have a major storm and your power's out for an extended period of time, what do you do? What do you do? So number one, big deal was food, right? So power's out, which means the refrigerator isn't working. There's no power in the refrigerator. And of course, you do not want to open the doors on the refrigerator, which is hard with young kids because the first thing they want to do is run over, open the door and hold it open, stare in the fridge. So that's very difficult, which say don't open the refrigerator door, keep it shut, because if you can keep the doors shut on your refrigerator, then your freezer and your refrigerator, the food should last 4 hours. But if the power outage lasts longer than that, then the food is pretty much going to start to spoil. So then you're left with, do you pack everything up and obviously try to drive it maybe to somebody else's house who does have power to save the food, or do you just start eating it all or figure out like ice cream in the fridge and you're just going to sit there with the ice cream? So it's a dilemma, right? If it's beyond the 4 hours. And so we have a generator, which we purchased 5 years ago. We have a Ryobi generator, 2200 watt, and it's been sitting in the garage. We were able to pull that out. It's gas powered, put the gas in, fired it up, and then we were able to plug in the refrigerator. So if you have a generator, or you can get a generator, and I actually highly suggest it if you can, if it's in your budget and you own a home, to have a generator. Ours, one person can pick it up. It's not that heavy. They're around $500, maybe something you want to save for in case of a situation, because you don't think about it until it happens, right? And then as soon as it happens in your neighborhood or your community, you're not going to find generators anywhere. There's people all over Facebook, especially as the days continued and power was just not coming back on. A lot of really hard stories on Facebook of people saying that, they didn't have the money and they didn't have a generator, and even if they had the money, they couldn't find a generator anywhere to buy it. So you don't want to be stuck with the power outage without a generator. If you can get one, great. If you want to save for it maybe and just have it on hand. Like I said, ours was sitting in our garage for 5 years before we even took it out of the box, and thankfully it started. We probably should have started it earlier than that to test it out, but we did get it started, and then we could plug in the refrigerator. And so the refrigerator was plugged in, and then also we're working from home, so we plugged in the internet, or we just plugged like phones to charge phones and stuff. So the other major issue when there's a power outage is communication. So most people now just have cell phones, and they do not have landlines. And so that's a major issue. If your cell phone battery dies and you're not able to charge it. There was a lot of people also on Facebook saying that they were going and sitting in their cars to try to charge their cell phones. And that's really difficult, especially if it was cold or there was a storm still going on and you're trying to charge your phone, or if you are trying to call your electric company to figure out why, or to report that the power outage has occurred, and then also to find out when it might be restored. If your cell phone battery's dead, you might not have the phone number, or it's dark and you can't find the phone number to go find your bill. So I highly suggest having your electric company's number programmed into your phone under contacts, so that way if an outage happens ones, you can quickly get on your phone and just find them and dial them to report the outage, and also to find out when they estimate it's going to be restored. Even though for ours, every day they said it's going to be restored by 11 p.m. that day. And it wasn't. Next day, 11 p.m. that day, and it wasn't. And then the next day, 11. So we just didn't even believe it anymore. We just were waiting to figure out. I figured it would just come on when it came on, but we couldn't rely on the estimates from the electric company. And I know there was like over 1,000 people without power, so they were working really hard on a lot of people's homes to try to get power up. But I mean, so if you don't have a way to charge your cell phone, if you don't have a generator, then look into getting some of those portable chargers and keep them charged up, or a solar powered one. I've seen those too on Amazon, where you can charge it in the sun. But obviously if there's no sun, if there's a major storm or something, then you can get those little battery pack portable chargers that you have some way to charge your phone, because it is really important to have that communication. And if it's the middle of the night and it's dark and it's scary, you're going to want to be able to make a phone call, so make sure you have some way to charge your phone. All right, now I was talking about being in the dark. Now, these are from our camping kit. So as soon as the power went out, I went and raided our camping box for flashlights. This one's from IKEA. It has little stars on the front, and the kids really like this, and it can hook onto things. This one was perfect. Flashlights, obviously you need to have a lot of those on hand. And then these, I think I got these at the dollar store actually at one point. These are battery operated, and they were so cheap. Maybe I got them at Target actually, I'm thinking, not the dollar store. But these were perfect for the kids for their bedroom at night. So they wanted night lights, of course. They're scared, it's dark. And so I was able to put a string of these in each of the kids' rooms, because we had them from camping, and the little switch on the end to turn it on. And it was so important. It was great. We also had a long line of battery operated string lights that I put on the banister going downstairs, and then I just flipped it on when it got dark, and it was on all night. That way, if they needed to go up, anyone needed to go up or down the steps or down the hallway on the second floor, it was sort of lit up with these little twinkly lights. And that was also really, really useful. Now, this was my absolute favorite. I got this off Amazon, and this has D batteries in it and a super, super strong light. And this was perfect. It also has like a hook on the end, so I could hang it like in the middle of the dining room and it would shine down, and it has a fan. So like I said, this time the power outage happened for us in summer, and it was 90 degrees. So this has a fan inside, which I think now that at this point, oh, it's still working. I thought the battery had died. I ran this all night in our bedroom, and I hung it like on our bed on the headboard, and I put the fan on, and I just sort of pointed it right at my head when I was sleeping to stay cool, and it really did help to sleep in the heat. So this thing is probably the best light that I have, and I love it so much. So with any power outage, I think the most important thing is that you're thinking about is food, how to cook. Again, if you have a generator, what we did is we unplugged the refrigerator and then plugged in our microwave so I could heat up water and make some things with that. You can't like boil water that way, but also I had a griddle, so I was able to just, keep switching out the plugs, plug in the griddle, and I was able to cook some things on top of that. So if you have an electric cooktop, or you can just get a single burner, that's good to have, that you could just plug into a generator. Also, what else did I use for cooking? The toaster. I plugged in the toaster oven. Again, if you don't have a generator, if you do have a generator, make sure it's outside. Be careful of carbon monoxide, and be careful with it. Obviously, there's a lot of safety precautions with a generator. Make sure it's covered and not getting wet. Luckily, we have like a side patio that's covered, and it can just sit out there on a concrete platform. I don't know. I know it's supposed to be grounded and all this stuff, but just be careful of carbon monoxide with your generators. But if you don't have that, you might have a gas burner. If you do, then that's really lucky, because that should hopefully still work. And then you could also use your grill outside to cook on. Again, trying to be careful. Make sure you have matches on hand so you can light those things. Also, water. So I know a bunch of people who have a well, and in order for the well to work, obviously you need to get the pump working. working, so they have a generator for the pump. If you have a well and you don't have a generator, again, I think it's really important probably to get one so that you have water so you can flush your toilets. But having just extra gallons of water in your basement or in your shed or wherever, I think is important, even if you just fill it up with tap water, so that way you can use that to flush your toilet in case your pump isn't working because you have no electricity. These are all just really important things to think about if you're living in a home or in an apartment, I guess. You might need a generator there too. There might not be a backup generator. If you're living in an apartment, definitely check and see if you have one to see if it would be a concern if you didn't have power. But it can be it's really stressful and unbelievably challenging, and it's not something you think about until you lose your electricity for days on end, and God forbid, maybe months, as some people think we could lose it for months or years if there was some kind of major, power grid issue. But when you don't have it is when you realize all the things that you need it for and how much you rely on it. So it's good to have some contingency plan, some kind of backup system in place within your family, especially if you have kids, because they are certainly not very sympathetic to the situation. The kids repeatedly were asking me, when's it coming on, yelling at me even, when's the power coming back on, like as if I had any control over it. And that just adds to the stress when you have young ones who are just not understanding why they can't have the things that they're used to having. All right, you guys, so that's it for now. We're decompressing after the power outage. I hope it helped you to think about some things or what to do if you're without power for whatever reason, things that you can do. Definitely look into the generator if you can and get some battery-powered lights. Okay, be well. Talk to you guys soon. Bye. All right, so what was the hardest part of the power outage?
Hardest part was no video games.
No video games.
Tablets. No
tablet.
TV.
Well, that's true. No TV. Was it nice maybe to have a little break from it?
No.
Was it fun or what?
No.
No.